So thanks for coming to welcome back Pkhentz. So this little text was written in 1957, but it's never been published as a separate book until a week ago. And it's all thanks to Ainsley Morse, who made it possible,
Sasha
and
you.
Sinyavsky's son, and Eugene Ostashevsky, who is an English language poet, but he will read the original today. And of course, it's all thanks to everyone who loves Pkhentz so much as to have this book presented today. So we will have a very quick reading of just a few excerpts, with Ainsley reading the English translation. Again, it's not the first translation, but the last one and the only was only made in '66 and never been retranslated since then. And Eugene will read some of the original excerpts, which Ainsley selected as perhaps the most representative and most poignant. Of course, it's not the end of the story. Please, if you have never read this little short story, I really envy you. It's probably one of the most incredible things ever written in the Soviet period, at least in the late Soviet.
Can you say a little bit about why you
Yes.
chose this as the
Why we
first?
chose.
Yes.
So this is the first book of Tamizdat project, and it's completely unplanned. It just happened. And we decided to
No, not
publish
no. But
Pkhentz.
why Pkhentz?
Why Pkhentz? Because he or it or they really deserve it. First of all, to be out as a separate book, so nicely designed by Aleksandr Sherman.
How many people here have already read this story?
Okay.
Okay. And teach it regularly. Great. Yes, exactly. Classroom application, loud and clear.
So it starts a new page in our curriculum, somewhat.
But that was only like a third of people. So if you haven't read, maybe we say like a couple of words about who wrote the
Right.
book or the story.
Really.
Yeah.
No one knows who actually wrote this book because the author Abram Tertz never existed, or at least no one knew who he was until 1965, when he and his fellow writer Yuli Daniel were exposed, and that was the most incredible Tamizdat mystification. Of course, it entailed prison terms for both 7 and 5 years after the infamous show trial in 1966. But who actually wrote this little short story was really not known until after the show trial. So this is one of the reasons. The other reason is that despite being written in 57, today, of course, it reads and sounds, especially in Ainsley's translation, as if it could have been written in the past, I don't know, at least 10 or maybe even fewer number of years. It's just incredible how sadly prophetic it was written as so many decades ago by now. So Pkhentz, also no one knows who Pkhentz is. This is what you are about to maybe try to figure out from these short excerpts. And of course, if you read the full text, you will know better. But no one will ever know for sure. So we are kind of continuing this mystification of Abram Tertz started. Well, that's what we can do.
Okay, we will.
Anyway,
Project. Yeah. Okay.
so let's just.
Okay.
We can also, of course, take questions and just talk more about
Let's read
Pkhentz
it
and
and
the
then we
translation
can.
much
Yeah,
later.
let's read it and then we can talk. Okay.
Держи.
So we decided to read these three excerpts. Technically, we could probably read the whole book, because if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, this side is English translation, and then you flip it over, and this is the original Russian text. So it's just a story. But we don't want to read you the whole thing so that you buy it and get to take it home. But I will just give a small amount of context, especially for those of you who don't know the story. Pkhentz is the title of the story. It is not the name of the hero of the story. His name is Andrei Sushinsky, which is kind of a joke about Sukhoi, but also makes you think about Andrei Sinyavsky. And Andrei Sushinsky, his pseudonym, is an outer space alien who crash landed in Siberia. Yes. Crash landed in Siberia in the 1930s and has been eking out a miserable, very humdrum and mundane Soviet existence pretty much ever since. And this story gives you a little slice of his life and points toward his future. Okay, among Andrei Sushinsky's various problems, being an alien living incognito amid lots of Soviet обыватели, is that his neighbor in the communal apartment, Veronika, is in love with him, which he finds very tiresome and kind of disgusting. So we're going to hear a little bit about Veronika in these excerpts, and also about our hero's ultimate trajectory, because we are going to read to the end. Okay. Andrei Kazimirovich, tell me, are you very lonely? Veronika asked, coming into the room with the teapot. When she left to get the tea, I had poured my dish into a newspaper. He also has to pretend to eat. Did you have friends? She put in sugar. Children? Another spoonful of sugar. A woman you loved? And stirring. All signs pointed to Veronika being agitated. With you, I have no need for friends. For other friends, I began carefully. And as for women, you can see for yourself, I am old and hunchbacked. Old and hunchbacked, I repeated with unassailable insistence. I sincerely wish to stave off her confession. Why would I need any of that when everything is already so hard? Would it be worth it to spoil our military alliance against hostile neighbors by arousing heightened interest in a girl who had yet to find her application in life? To avoid disaster, I was prepared to pretend I was an alcoholic or a criminal, but maybe it would be better to be a mental case or even a child molester. But I was afraid any of these qualities might actually lend me a dangerously intriguing streak. All I could do was to accentuate my hump, my age and pathetic salary, my quiet accountant job that took up heaps of time, and the fact that a hunchback like myself deserved a hunchback lady to match, while a normal, attractive woman should have a symmetrical man. You are just too noble, Veronika decided. You think of yourself as a cripple and don't want to be a burden for anyone. Don't think this is me pitying you. I just like cactuses, and you look like a cactus. Look how many of them have grown up all over your windowsill. Her hot fingers reached out for my arm. I jerked away as if from a burn.
I have to say this transition is just stunning. I mean, I'm following it line by line. It's really impressive.
Скажите, Андрей Казимирович, вы очень одиноки?
Спросила Вероника, внося в комнату чайник. Пока она ходила за чайником, я вывалил свое блюдо в газетку.
У вас были друзья?
Она положила сахар.
Дети?
Еще ложка сахара.
Любимая женщина?
И ну, размешивать. По всему было заметно, что Вероника волнуется. Друзей мне заменяете вы, начал я осторожно. А что касается женщин, то вы же видите, я стар и горбат. Стар и горбат, повторил я с неумолимой настойчивостью. Я честно желал предотвратить признание. Зачем оно мне, когда и без этого трудно? Стоит ли портить наш военный союз против злых соседей, возбуждать к себе повышенный интерес, не нашедший применения девушки? Чтобы избежать беды, я был готов прикинуться алкоголиком или преступником. А может лучше умалишенным, педерастом, наконец. Но я боялся. Каждое из этих качеств могло придать моей особе опасный, интригующий блеск. Мне оставалось акцентировать мой горб, возраст и мизерную зарплату, мою тихую профессию счетовода, отнимающую массу времени, и что такому, как я, горбуну, подстать соответствующая горбунья, а нормальной красивой женщине нужен симметричный мужчина.
Нет, вы слишком благородны,
Решила Вероника.
вы считаете себя калекой и боитесь быть в тягость. Не подумайте, что это жалость с моей стороны. Просто мне нравятся кактусы, а вы похожи на кактус. Вон их сколько расплодилось на вашем подоконнике.
К моей руке притронулись ее горячие пальцы. Я дернулся, как от ожога.
So this next passage comes from a bit later in the story. Things have really gone downhill for everybody. We get to encounter Veronica again. So you can look forward to Zhenya's Veronica. Veronica came in. She had clearly lost weight, and her gaze, purged of love and umbrage, was clear and indifferent. Water, I croaked. If you're sick, said Veronica, you need to get undressed and check your temperature. I'll call a doctor. They'll put cups on you. A doctor! Cups! Undressed! The only thing missing was for her to touch my forehead, as cool as room temperature, and to feel with her red-hot fingers for my non-existent pulse. But, fluffing my pillow, Veronica accidentally touched my wig and pulled her hand away in disgust. My body must have elicited only repulsion in her, as in other people. Water! For Christ's sake, water! You want boiled or from the tap? She finally went out and came back with a pitcher. And rubbing dust off the glass with such thoughtful slowness, which, if I didn't know she suspected nothing, I might have perceived as vengeful, Veronica said, you know, I really did love you, Andrei Kazimierovich. I realized that this love, how to explain it, love rooted in pity. Pity for a lonely, crippled man, if you'll forgive my bluntness. But I pitied you so much, didn't notice physical imperfections. Andrei Kazimierovich, I thought you were the most beautiful person on the planet, the most person. And when you laughed at me so cruelly, kill myself, loved, hiding nothing, I'll say a decent person, loved again. And now I am even grateful, loved, person, human, humanity, person to person. Veronika Grigorievna, I broke in, unable to suffer through any more of this. I beg you, now, water, person, permanent, Humpson, human, water, water! Veronika filled the glass and suddenly brought it right up to my lips. My false teeth clattered against the glass, but I couldn't make myself take the liquid internally. I need to be watered like a plant or an apple tree, from above, not by mouth. Drink, drink, Veronika insisted. You asked for water. I thrust the glass aside, lurched forward, and feeling my doom grow nearer, sat back down. The water trickled out of my mouth onto the couch. I was able to catch a few drops in my dry, open palm. Give me the pitcher and leave, I ordered with all the firmness I could muster. Leave me in peace. I will drink alone. Long tears trickled from Veronika's eyes. Why do you hate me? I asked. What did I ever do to you? You refused my love, rejected my pity. You are just mean, unkind. You are a very bad person, Andrei Kazimierovich. Veronika! If you have even a drop of pity left in your heart, please leave, I beg you, I beseech you, leave me alone. She left, crushed. Then I undid my shirt and emptied the pitcher under my arm into my open shirt, spout down.
Вошла Вероника. Она заметно похудела, и взгляд ее, очищенный от любви и обиды, был ясен и равнодушен. «Воды!» – прохрипел я.
Если вы больны,
Сказала Вероника.
вам надо раздеться и смерить температуру. Я вызову врача. Вам поставят банки.
Врача! Банка! Раздеться? Не хватало еще, чтобы она трогала мой лоб, прохладный, как комнатный воздух, и щупала раскаленными пальцами несуществующий пульс. Но, поправляя подушку, Вероника брезгливо одернула руку, прикоснувшуюся к моему парику. Должно быть, мое тело возбуждало в ней, как и в прочих людях, лишь одно отвращение. Воды! Христа ради, воды!
Вам сырой или кипяченый?
Наконец она ушла и вернулась с графином. И, протирая запыленный стакан с той задумчивой медлительностью, которую я принял бы за месть с ее стороны, если бы не знал, что она ничего не знает, Вероника сказала:
Я ведь на самом деле любила вас, Андрей Казимирович. Мне понятно, это была любовь, как бы вам объяснить, любовь из жалости, жалость к одинокому, искалеченному человеку. Простите за откровенность, но я пожалела вас настолько не замечать физические изъяны. Вы мне казались, Андрей Казимирович, самым красивым человеком на земле, самого человека. И когда вы так жестоко посмеялись, покончить с собой, любила, не скрывая, скажу, достойный человек, опять полюбила, а теперь даже благодарна, полюбила человека человеческим, человечность, как человек человеку.
Вероника Григорьевна, перебил я ее, не в силах терпеть более, прошу вас поскорее воды.
Человек, Викачел, Чекилов, те вот лечь, человек.
Воды, воды. Вероника наполнила стакан и вдруг поднесла его к самому моему рту. Мои вставные зубы стучали о стекло, но я не решался принять эту жидкость внутрь. Меня поливать требуется, как цветок или яблоню, сверху, а не через рот.
Пейте же, пейте, настаивала Вероника. Вы же просили воды.
Отбросил, рванулся и, чувствуя, что пропадаю, сел. Вода текла изо рта на диван. Мне удалось поймать несколько капель в подставленную сухую ладонь. «Дайте графин и уходите!» — приказал я со всей твердостью, на которую был способен. «Оставьте меня в покое! Я сам напьюсь!» Из глаз Вероники ползли длинные слезы.
«За что вы меня ненавидите?» — спросила она. «Что я вам сделала? Вы сами не приняли моей любви, отказались от жалости, вы просто злой, нехороший, вы очень плохой человек, Андрей Казимирович».
«Вероника, если еще осталось у вас хоть несколько капель жалости, уйдите, прошу вас, умоляю, уйдите, оставьте меня одного!» Она вышла, согнувшись. Тогда я расстегнул рубашку и сунул графин за пазуху горлышком вниз.
The final short passage that we will read is from the very end of the story, so it is kind of a spoiler. But we won't tell you how we get to that point. There's a lot in between here. But remember that I told you that the way our hero first got himself stuck in Moscow was when his spaceship crash landed in Siberia. I'll get there somehow. Hire a boat for part of the way. It's about 350 kilometers. Along the river all the way, practically in the water. Douse yourself 3 times a day if you like. There was a crater. I'll find it. We made a crater when we crashed. I'll line it with wood, cedar, it's like tinder. I'll settle down in my pit, undo all the ties and straps, and start waiting. And let no human thought, no word in a foreign tongue enter my brain. And when the frosts begin and I understand that the time has come, one match should do it. Nothing will remain. But it will be a while before that moment comes. There will be many warm and good nights, and many stars in the summer sky. Which one of them? Who knows? I will watch them all, together and one by one, with all my eyes wide open. One of them must be mine. O homeland, Pkhentz, Gogri Tuzheroskip, I am coming home. Gogri, 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 Tuzheroskip, bonjour, guten Abend, Tuzheroskip, blah, 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 meow, meow, Pkhentz.
Уж как-нибудь доберусь. Частично лодку нанять. Примерно 350 километров. Все по реке. Вода под боком. Вот 3 раза в день обливайся. Яма была. Разыщу. Мы яму пробили, когда упали. Обложить дровами можжевельник, что порох. Усядусь в яму. Развяжусь. Распояшусь и стану ждать. И чтобы ни одной человеческой мысли, ни одного слова на чужом наречии. А как начнутся заморозки, и пойму, что время приспело, одной спички хватит, ничего не останется. Но до этого будет долго, будет много теплых, много добрых ночей, и в летнем небе много звезд. Какая из них? Неизвестно. Буду на все смотреть, вместе и поочередно, смотреть во все глаза. Какая-нибудь-то моя. О, Родина! Пkhentz! Гогры! Тужероскип! Я иду к тебе. Гогры! 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 Тужероскип! Тужероскип! Бонжур! Гутен Абенд! Тужероскип! Бу-бу-бу! Мяу-мяу! Pkhentz!
So this
In the middle passage that we read.
Certainly it freely exists in other editions. This short story in Russian, but оставайся. But it skips 3 lines, except only one publication from '89, which was the year that Pkhentz, in a sense, came back, where he was written, and that publication is what we chose as our kind of version or variant. And sure enough, it was confirmed by a manuscript, a typescript with Sinyavsky's marginalia from the Hoover Institution archives, which thankfully confirmed to us that we are using the right version. So thank you to Ilaria Sikari, who scanned it at Stanford and sent it to us. It wouldn't be too late to to change it, but we didn't have to because that was the original TypeScript that we used, as it turns out. And then, do you want to talk about one?
Oh, our new dachi? Yes?
I wouldn't say it's new dacha, but it was a
Which one?
challenge
Oh,
of
yeah,
translation, right?
Yeah. No, this is a fun. So there's a scene that we did not read to you from in the second section chapter thing where, so Andrei Kazimierz, as you could tell, particularly from Zhenya's physical interpretation, is disguised. Part of his disguise is that he has a hump. And his hump is actually some of his additional arms that are kind of wadded up behind his back and strapped down with belts.
He's also all covered by eyes. So
Yeah, he has eyes everywhere.
Смотреть во все глаза.
Во все
Which you
глаза.
can see on the
Yes.
on the special font that Sasha created.
But the story begins with him kind of stalking this other hunchback who he has noticed and he suspects might not be a hunchback, but actually another alien like himself. And so he actually follows this guy home and they have this exchange. which is a classic example of Aesopian language, kind of where Andrei Kazimierowicz is talking to Leopold, who actually, it turns out, is a hunchback, but he's trying to like feel him out and get him to acknowledge that he is not. And at one point, the exchange goes, where is it? I'll just find
Well,
it.
maybe it's just this phrase alone, and the answer
Yeah,
is
and then
enough.
it was just a classic bad or difficult to translate into English thing, because Andrei Kazimierowicz asks the other hunchback, "Вы давно оттуда?"
Whatever that means.
"Вы давно оттуда?" And his answer is "Откуда оттуда?" And so these are just words that like you actually cannot translate in a concise way in English, because nobody says hence or whence anymore. And so you have to do a longer kind of a workaround. But it also has a sort of footnote-worthy context, which is that one of the many subtexts for this story is all the people who have spent time in prison camps in the Soviet period. And so, you know, Andrei Kazimierowicz is ostensibly asking about his lost planet, but it also has that underpinning. So.
And that was, of course, in 57, 56, 57, 58. It was not something that you could actually name. So therefore, this euphemism оттуда. But it's also about simply recognition of this kind of brotherhood almost of Gulag survivors coming back and recognizing themselves by the eyes almost. So that was definitely difficult to render.
Zhenya participated in that one,
Yeah.
right? Didn't you weigh in?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what
I don't
versions did
remember
you
what-
have initially?
I don't know.
How long since you left?
Yeah, that was the original one, but that didn't end up in here,
No.
right? No. Yeah, originally it was how long since you left. Yeah, it ended up still pretty awkward. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, well.
awkward maybe is good.
Awkward in order to
in this
actually
case.
convey that. How long since you came from there? And then he says,
Yeah.
came from where? Yeah, but you know, it's not quite what you wait for. Yeah.
Except, of course, this whole recognition turns out to be false, and Leopold turns out to be just a regular human and almost turns Pkhentz into the authorities. Which is after, which is when he falls sick, and the last passage that Ainsley and Jenny read is his kind of sad demise. But we don't know if it's a demise because he may have made it.
Yeah. So we can sign books
Yes, Ainsley is ready to sign them.
if you want,
And thank you once again.
or ask any questions. Yeah. Thanks, Zhenya.